Okay kids, let's talk about how to set up a music recording studio focused around all the computer side of things, the recording desk side of things. And the big piece of information is I want to show you how to set up a recording studio with two mixers in front of an audio interface, as opposed to just having an audio interface and going straight into that, plugging everything straight into that audio interface and doing everything via that. I advocate putting two mixers in front of an audio interface, for reasons being, one, you'll get a zero latency recording environment that is extremely useful, but secondly, and possibly even more importantly, the increased functionality that two mixers gives you is extraordinary and way above and beyond what you can do by just going in through the audio interface with no mixers in front of it. So let's start there. Now the main reason where this functionality comes from is because one mixer is your in mixer. That's where all the sounds go into the audio sound card and into your computer. And then you have another mixer which is used for all your live mixing. Okay, so you can actually adjust the levels of various instruments playing live. Okay, so you and your friend are playing, or or yourself is playing, with your sources being your guitar and your vocal. Okay, going in, you can mix those up and down and adjust them, and adjust your friend playing bass or whatever. You know what I mean? You can adjust all those levels live in your room to affect the sound that you're playing with. Okay, so the live sound in your room can be manipulated on this mixer just by turning faders up and down, and you can't necessarily do that with just going into an audio interface and using the mixer on your computer screen. It's much more difficult to do that, and you're also avoiding zero latency. So you're also getting zero latency. You're avoiding latency totally. You'll see very early in audio interface claims to fame, like their glossy brochure, of zero latency recording these days. Now, the audio interface I actually have has it. I just discovered, I didn't even realise, but it has that as well. And that's all good, that sounds good, that ticks that box in your mind, but it's not as functional as this method. The other advantage being this method is really, really simple. When you get, I haven't got one of those great minds, you know what I mean? How when the mind works really well, I haven't got one of those. And when wiring and wiring, the routing, the path, the signal path is all non-visible and all sort of theoretical in a computer or within a box, I lose track of where things are going. And with this method, it's all hardwired and you can just see where every wire is going, and it's really, really logical, and it really helps. You've got to keep things simple in a studio design, especially if you're an amateur, and most of you are amateurs, and that's certainly who I'm talking to. I'm not talking to professionals. Amateurs is nearly everybody. Punks with no money. That's who I'm talking to, as I probably said before in other videos. Okay, two mixers in front of an audio interface. You often get asked, do I need a mixer? Yes, in fact get two. Okay. Now, what sort of capability of mixers do? Now, what you do with those two mixers, okay, let's start with that. One goes into the sound card, and one receives the out signal from the sound card. Okay, so they're two totally separate things, in and out. They're not even connected. Okay, and then what you actually do is you do connect this mixer over to your second mixer in order to mix the live sound with the sound that's playing back from the computer. Now, does that make sense? Okay, so this one sends the sound in and it just goes and gets recorded, okay, and it doesn't come back. This one receives any playback that you're doing once you've recorded your tracks and you're playing them back, you know, and you want to record over again. This is how recording's done. You will hear it here, but you take a signal from this mixer and send it over to here, okay, and so then you can mix what you recorded before with what you're recording now, and it's all physical on the faders, okay? And this mixing you do here will have no effect whatsoever on the mixing in your computer, okay? That'll just go straight in. That's the technical stuff of it. I'll go over that in more detail in another video, so don't worry, you don't have to take notes. What else? Okay, that's what capability of mixer do you need? And this is why you need to do this, okay? Because you don't need a big capable mixer. So it's cheap, okay? And this is the big advantage. This is the third advantage. Remember I was talking about the previous two? Zero latency, flexibility. The third advantage of this is cheapness. You get, for a very small price, you get a really big functionality, a really happening little setup. So this mixer here, your input mixer, the capabilities you need there are, well, I'd suggest going up and getting a mixer that has that subgroup 3/4 out, an alternative 3/4 out. Okay, so you can actually get 4 separate signals out of a mixer going straight in to a sound card. So you get 4 separate tracks. So if you have a 4-in sound card, which I'd recommend you get, 2's good, but 4's pretty excellent. You can, God, I'm losing track of what I'm saying now. You've confused me. You need a mixer here with, an alt 3/4, sub 3/4 out. Now, not all mixers have that, okay, and that's the distinction you have to look for. And I think the secret information is Mackie and Behringer make mixers like that at a very cheap level. Now, there are other ways of getting out and other things you can look for on mixers, but the cheapest way I suggest to you is that sub 3/4 out, okay? The other ways you can get out of a mixer are from, and I think I'm getting a bit too technical now, but bear with me, is they have inserts across the top here, and you can actually come out of those inserts, okay? That's good if you can get them. The other way is direct outs from the back. And when you get into the direct out territory on mixers, you have to start spending money. So, a bit of a disadvantage there. Same with the inserts generally. They're on your sort of more higher up mixers, kind of, I think. Don't quote me. I'm no technical, guru who's across everything either, by the way. Let me make that perfectly clear. But to get into that alt 3/4 territory on mixers, you can do this. I don't know, this mixer probably costs about $230, brand new. Okay, so you've got to have that alt 3/4. Let me show you. We'll get handheld. My voice is going to go up. I apologise for the terrible audio quality. Here we go. Main mix, an alt 3/4, and you'll see that on the back as well. It'll come out. I can't really get there, but I probably can. See how flexible my studio is? See that? Alt 3/4 out and the control room out. They're the ones I go out. No, I don't even go out the main out, but I'll explain all that later. So there's 3/4. That's what you need to look for. Now on this mixer, you don't necessarily need that, okay? You just need 2 tracks out. You don't need an alternative 3/4. So this mixer will cost you even less. That's what I'm basically saying, okay? Because that's really the only thing you need. But one little hint though, if you want to get really into it later, this is a Yamaha, and this is actually a USB mixer.
but I don't use it for that. I just use it as an old analog mixer. It has inserts. This one has inserts, okay, and they're pretty good to use. They're pretty handy. So if you get with your second mixer, try and get a mixer with inserts on them. It gives you a bit more flexibility with patching things. This is a Behringer mixer. Like, this is the Behringer Zen-X 1204. So that just means it's a 4-bus mixer. That 04 means the 1, 2, 3, 4, I think. And the 12 has probably got 12 inputs, but that's bullshit. It's got 4 inputs, basically, and then you've got the line inputs. You've got 4 mic inputs and 2 line inputs, so it's really a 6-input mixer. All that other stuff, yeah, whatever. They always exaggerate. It's technically true, but you know. So a Zen-X 1204 mixer doesn't cost much. Like, check it out. It's pretty cheap. Now, so that's probably, like, if you went and bought brand new, that'd probably cost you about $230. I don't know. You get those second hand for, you know, I don't know, $250. I don't know. It wasn't much. You know, they're cheap, second hand on eBay, and that's what you There we go.
That's all you need to get. Sorry, my voice has just gone down again. But that's all you need to get. 2 mixers like that. And so start thinking about that when you're thinking about buying studio equipment, because you won't be told that. Okay, you're trying to go out and buy an audio interface that's really capable and everything. I'll show you what audio interface I've got. Let's get loose again. I've got this Delta 44 M Audio box with just like these line. You know, it's just got jack ins, hasn't even got the Canons in. This is a PCI, connects to PCI, not USB. This is a kick-ass sound card. If you've got a PCI connection, and if you can still buy these new, which you possibly can, I'm not sure, they're just kick-ass. The software on them are really, really solid, and you don't need preamps in your audio interface. The preamps you get on an audio interface are never going to be that good. Okay, so don't think you have to get that. I use the preamps in here or in a dedicated preamp, you know, in the line. You know, that's kind of, you want to go there. You know, the preamps you get in an audio interface, don't bother. The preamps you get in a mixer, you know, they're not going to be that great either, but they're all right and they're actually good. And so are the ones you'll get in an audio interface, but you know what I mean. You know, they're not that good. So you don't have to get an audio interface with preamp. Alright. So there's first few helpful tips to start thinking about. 2 mixers for 0 latency recording, cheap as chips, amazing functionality. It's hard for you to imagine that functionality that I'm talking about if you haven't experienced it. It's very hard, because it's very hard to describe. But basically, you're not fiddling with the computer screen, because that's a pain in the ass. You don't put that little monitor button on your DAW, you know, that everyone knows they've all got those little monitor buttons. You don't use that, because you're not listening to the sound coming out of the computer. Okay? And you just have this enormous functionality in being able to mix the live sound in your room, so you can actually get a jam going, or if you're just recording, you know, you can adjust the various volumes so you can get a better mix to play with. All here, all live. While over from this mixer, all your sound just gets siphoned off into the computer. And multi-track recording, okay? And it's all really, really simple, and your computer doesn't have to work. Your computer doesn't push any system, it just goes real easy. All these advantages, I'll tell you more about it in other videos. Getting close to 15 minutes. Gotta go. Thanks.